In the heart of Chicago, where the L train rumbled and the wind of Lake Michigan bit at your face even in April, Sarah Thompson lived her life at a sprint. At 34, she was an nurse at Northwestern Memorial Hospital, a job that felt like a calling but often left her drained. Her days were a blur of 12-hour shifts, charting patient vitals, calming frantic families, and dodging the chaos of a Friday night in the trauma bay. Off the clock, she was the go-to person for her family and friends. A ride to the airport, a shoulder to cry on, an extra hand at a cousin's baby shower. Sarah's calendar wasn't her own. It belonged to everyone else. She hadn't always been this way. In nursing school, Sarah was the one who jogged along the lakefront at dawn, her sneakers pounding the pavement as the sunrise painted the skyline gold. She ate kale salads and grilled chicken, tracked her macros, and felt invincible. But somewhere between her first job and her 30s, life had piled on. The hospital was understaffed, her mom needed help after a knee surgery, and her best friend Keisha leaned on her during a messy divorce. Sarah's gym membership gathered dust, her fridge held more takeout containers than vegetables, and her energy was a flickering candle in a windstorm. She'd gained 25 pounds in 2 years, and her reflection in the hospital's glass doors felt like a stranger's. "I'll get back to it when things slow down," Sarah told herself, but the lie was as old as her scrubs. Things never slowed down. Her phone buzzed constantly, work asking her to cover a shift, her brother needing a loan, a group chat planning a last-minute brunch. She said yes to everything because saying no felt like letting people down. Her calendar was a patchwork of obligations, with no space for herself. She'd collapse on her couch at night, scrolling X or watching Netflix, promising tomorrow would be different. But tomorrow was always the same. One chilly October evening in 2025, Sarah trudged home to her Rogers Park apartment after a double shift. Her feet ached, her scrubs smelled of antiseptic, and her head throbbed from a patient's screaming meltdown. She kicked off her clogs, sank into her worn-out sectional, and opened X on her phone, mindlessly scrolling past memes and news clips. A post caught her eye, a thread from a life coach she didn't follow, retweeted by a colleague. It read, "Time is your gold. You can lose money and earn it back, but lose an hour and it's gone forever. Your calendar is your life's mirror. Protect it, or someone else will spend it for you." The words hit like a defibrillator. Sarah stared at her phone, her thumb frozen over the screen. She thought about her calendar, a chaotic Google app filled with work shifts, doctor's appointments for her mom, and a vague plan to catch up with friends. Where was she in it? Where was the Sarah who ran 5Ks, who dreamed of hiking Machu Picchu, who wanted to feel strong again? She opened her calendar app and scrolled through the next month. It was a mess of other people's priorities. Her heart sank. The post was right. Her calendar was a mirror, and it showed a life slipping away. Sarah set her phone down and grabbed a notebook from her coffee table, a relic from a journaling phase she'd abandoned. She wrote, "What matters most?" The answers came quickly. Her health, her energy, her future. She wanted to feel like herself again, to move without pain, to have the stamina to chase her dreams, not just survive her shifts. But wanting wasn't enough. She'd been wanting for years. The X post echoed in her mind. The difference isn't the amount of time, it's the allocation. She needed to make time, not find it. The next morning, Sarah woke before her alarm, a rare occurrence. Over coffee, she opened her calendar and did something radical. She blocked 6 to 7 a.m. every weekday for health. No specifics yet, just a placeholder for herself. She stared at the bright blue blocks on her screen, each one a promise. But doubt crept in. Could she really stick to this? What if work called? What if Keisha needed her? She pushed the thoughts aside and wrote in her notebook, "Treat these hours like a patient's life depends on them, because mine does." That Monday, Sarah laced up her old running shoes and headed to the gym in her building's basement. It wasn't fancy, just a treadmill, some dumbbells, and a yoga mat, but it was enough. She walked for 30 minutes, then did a few stretches she remembered from a fitness app. Her body felt stiff, her lungs burned, but for the first time in months, she felt alive. When her phone buzzed at 6:15 with a text from a coworker asking her to cover a shift, she typed, "Sorry, I'm booked," and hit send before she could second guess herself. It felt like rebellion. The first week was a battle. On Wednesday, her mom called at 6:05 a.m. asking for help with a pharmacy mix-up. Her instinct was to drop everything, but she said, "I'll call them at 7:30, Mom. I'm in the middle of something." Her mom sounded surprised, but didn't push. On Friday, Keisha invited her to a sunrise yoga class, clashing with her gym time. Sarah hesitated. Yoga sounded nice, but she stuck to her plan. "I've got a standing appointment." And Keisha, to her surprise, nodded with respect. "You're serious about this, huh?" Sarah smiled. "Yeah, I am." By week 2, Sarah added strength training, following a free YouTube workout. She bought a blender and started making protein smoothies, replacing her usual Dunkin' run. She felt a flicker of the old Sarah, the one who thrived on routine. But the real test came at work. The ER was slammed with flu cases, and her manager, Linda, asked her to cover an extra shift on Thursday right after her scheduled gym time. Sarah's heart raced. Saying no to Linda felt like career suicide, but she thought of her calendar, those blue blocks she'd guarded like treasure. "I can do the evening shift, but mornings are booked." Linda raised an eyebrow, but nodded. "Fair enough, we'll make it work." Sarah's small victories compounded. By the end of the first month, she had lost 5 pounds, but the real win was her energy. She wasn't dragging through shifts anymore. She laughed more, snapped less, and even handled a combative patient without losing her cool. Her coworkers noticed. "You're glowing, girl," said Jamal, a fellow nurse during a rare quiet moment in the break room. "What's your secret?" Sarah grinned. "No secret, just my calendar. I protect my mornings like they're gold." The calendar became her shield. She started blocking other priorities. Saturday mornings for meal prep, Sunday evenings for reading self-help books she'd always meant to finish. She even scheduled 15 minutes a day to sit quietly with her thoughts, something she'd seen suggested on X. Those moments of reflection helped her see patterns. She said yes too often, not out of kindness, but out of fear. Fear of disappointing others, fear of missing out. Saying no was hard, but each no felt like reclaiming a piece of herself. 3 months in, Sarah was down 15 pounds. Her scrubs fit better, her knees didn't ache after shifts, and she slept like a rock. She signed up for a local 5K, something she hadn't done since her 20s. On race day, under a crisp Chicago sky, she crossed the finish line, sweaty and beaming, with Keisha cheering from the sidelines. Afterwards, over coffee, Keisha asked, "How'd you do this? You're like a new person." Sarah pulled out her phone and showed her the calendar app, those blue blocks still standing firm. "This," she said. "I decided my time was mine. I stopped letting everyone else spend it." The change rippled beyond her health. At work, Sarah was sharper, more confident. She spoke up in staff meetings, suggesting ways to streamline triage that save the team time. Linda noticed and hinted at a lead nurse role opening up. At home, Sarah's boundaries inspired her family. Her mom started managing her own appointments, saying, "If you can make time for yourself, I can too." Even Keisha adopted Sarah's approach, carving out evenings for her own hobbies. One evening, 6 months after that fateful ex-post, Sarah sat on her balcony overlooking the city. The skylight twinkled and the air smelled of fall. She opened her notebook and wrote, "My calendar is my life. I protect it, and it protects me." She thought about the hours she'd reclaimed, hours that had built strength, clarity, and a future she could feel proud of. She wasn't just surviving anymore, she was thriving. Sarah's story spread quietly. A coworker started scheduling walks during lunch breaks. Her brother blocked Sundays for his kids. On X, Sarah shared her own post. "Your time is your gold.
Guard it like it's priceless, because it is. My calendar saved my health, my energy, my life. What's yours doing for you? It got 200 likes, but the real reward was in her mirror, her energy, her life. Sarah had learned the truth. Time was her most valuable asset, and by protecting her calendar, she'd protected her future.